Until just a short time ago, I had my everyday life. The warm breeze of 4 p.m. was gently blowing, and the blithe atmosphere in the streets that day was a pure display of vibrant and exciting images, mixed together with the familiar cacophony of sounds emanating from all horizons, gently caressing the roadways at the pace of the city's daily traffic jam. When suddenly, like a thunderbolt from the serene sky, Mother Nature unleashed its sudden fury. I heard this cracking sound, and I didn't know where, and I saw around me things were shaking, and buildings were shaking, and roads were breaking, and people were running everywhere, and they were trying to find a place to hide, but they didn't know what to do or where they were going. I am under the debris of the earth. They call me by name. I do not answer. I have no voice or strength. I breathe in, then I don't. Then I breathe again. Afghanistan 7.5, Nepal 7.9, and Japan 9.0. But even after earthquakes with magnitudes such as these, life still continues on. But one way that people have found to cope with such traumatic events is through the writing of poetry. Because according to the Journal of Poetry Therapy in January 2015, practicing poetry can contribute to one flourishing with greater psychological well-being. After the earthquake in Nepal, Nepali native Samyak Shurtak began a Kickstarter called Healing Through Poetry, where he'd listen to the stories of other survivors and turn them into poems in order to raise funds. In his campaign video, he states, "I have witnessed firsthand the power of poetry. It provides a certain kind of peace and relief to patients that morphine will never be able to do." Now, the Nepalese are not the only ones who've turned to poetry for healing. This program contains pieces that were written to survivors around the world that needed to share their stories. With poems, Earthquake by Urbana Janet, Too Many Gone Too Soon by Mangala Vermont, Terremoto in Peru by Mamani Macedo, Together We Rise by Samyak Shurtak, and Pebbles of Poetry by Wago Ryochi. A program to all the survivors. I breathe in, and I don't. Then I breathe again. I hear the sirens vanishing in the distance. But they do not take me. They leave me buried under a wall that was built by my father. I stay in the house of my parents, the house of my children, my house, forever. Pieces of their shattered dreams are still buried deep under the rubble. How do I count? Where do I start? Because there are too many heads without bodies. There are too many body parts that are buried who knows where. There were so many screams that went unheard from under the rubble. There were too many lives that expired too soon. There just aren't enough tears to cry for so many lost lives. Everywhere I go, there's nothing but tears. Because these missing people become missing only after a missing persons report is filed. Which means that if no report is filed, then is a missing person who hasn't yet become missing not really missing? I am hurt, very hurt in the flesh and soul. I am surrounded by the sounds of the sea. The human sea groans in pain, and I pray. I pray to God, the saints and the virgins I forgot long ago. I pray to spend my time, my energy in myself. I breathe in, and I don't. Then I breathe again. The earth, it rumbled again. So I got on my knees and I glared at the ground until the trembling stopped. Then I breathe again. The day before yesterday, the corpses of 1,000 people washed onto the shores. The high school gymnasium that I loved so much has become a place to house all of the unidentified bodies. The neighboring high school building too. And there aren't enough coffins for so many corpses, and there just aren't enough tears to cry. But still, the only thing I can continue to do is cry. Is there someone that's important to you? Because there are situations when you could lose them in an instant. So if you take the time to think about that for just a minute, then you realize that the only thing you can do is risk your whole being just to make sure that this world doesn't rip them away. I hear the urn coming back to earth. And I am here, hugging a corpse. I do not dream, but dream about tomorrow. I breathe in, and I don't. And I breathe again, and I don't. For what reason is life brought into this world just to leave us? Because this pain is too heavy for my soul to hold, and at the deep bottom of my shaky thoughts, these same questions keep resurfacing with a bitter taste. Why us? And why this fate of misfortune? Yes, I'm angry. I'm really angry. What meaning could there be in harming us to this extent? I guess that myth of absolute safety, it's not so absolute after all. Yes, it's hard to go on and to start over again because so many lost their loved ones that were treasures to them. How are we supposed to mend not only our broken homelands, but also the broken hearts and lives of the innocent ones? What could this earthquake be trying to teach us? Because if it's not trying to teach us anything, then what do we possibly have left to believe in? Yes, we're wounded, but we know how to be whole. Because brick by brick we can resurrect the city, and feather by feather we can stitch together a flight to paint our skies once again blue. There can be beauty in falling, because yes, while our houses are a handful of dust, our hearts are the Himalayas. Sure, we're scared and scarred, but we're not broken. While we'll never be the same again, we know how to be beautiful too.